Lakotkova. I think that was the best I got. And then a Morgan Ingram. Hey, good chat's happening here. Welcome. We're going to kick things off here in a moment. We are live on Facebook. Welcome, Facebook friends. Good to see you. And we are trying out the new live stream feature through LinkedIn events too. So if you're on LinkedIn, say hello, drop a comment below. We've got our whole team monitoring there as well. And we're going to kick things off. Today, we are talking all about reaching your full potential with LinkedIn. We're going to keep things rapid fire, very fast paced. As I mentioned before, we have some great guests today, some of the foremost experts on using LinkedIn, whether you're looking to accelerate your career, looking to connect and grow your own team, or just land some really great sales and grow your customer list. We've got the people here today that are going to help you be able to do that. I'm your host, Matt Hunkler. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Powderkeg, and I'm super excited to host today's virtual event with all of you. Again, thank you for being here. Feel free to introduce yourself below. If you want to engage and connect with me, you can find some of our social handles here. We're just at Powderkeg on Twitter, Instagram, etc. And then today's hashtag is Powderkeg Live. We also have a simultaneous Slack channel going on. This is one of the things that I really am enjoying about our virtual events. You know, our live events tended to attract, hundreds of people as well, but we were limited by geography, and now we're drawing a much more global audience. And the nice thing about Slack channel is you can have side conversations while the main show is going on. So I encourage you to explore the Slack channels, say hello in introductions. That's the introductions channel on Slack. You should have received an invite last night if you registered before yesterday, and maybe an invite here just recently if you're just tuning in or just registered today. Also, feel free to share what's really kind of helped you, any big takeaways that you have in the personal branding on LinkedIn channel. And then we're actually going to encourage you and speakers, if you'd like to join us in the Speaker AMA channel after the event. That's a Speaker Ask Me Anything. You can continue the discussion there, find new ways to connect both with our guest today as well as other attendees like yourself. If you have a question for the presenter, go ahead and just type it into the Q&A box. If you're watching here on Zoom, that's the best way to do that. We love using Zoom, and the really cool thing about it is if you have a question, you can type it in the Q&A box, and we'll actually bring you onto the show to ask your question live. The first half of this show is going to be one-on-one interviews with each of our guests, and then we're going to bring all four to a group Q&A. So I would love to bring you onto the show and make sure you use that Q&A box here on Zoom. If you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, you can still ask a question. We will ask it for you here live on the show and get through as many as we can. All right, I know that was a lot of preamble. It was long-winded, but I want to make sure we're engaging all of you as best we can. Let's rock and roll. As I mentioned, today we are talking about reaching your full potential with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the fastest growing social platforms. It is obviously the best social network for lead generation. In fact, HubSpot found that LinkedIn is 277% more effective at generating leads for business than Facebook and Twitter. Today, about 95% of recruiters utilize LinkedIn as a major sourcing tool to find candidates to present to their client companies seeking top-tier talent. In fact, a recent study found that 122 million people received an interview through LinkedIn, with 35.5 million having been hired by a person that they connected with actually on the site. We're going to have a lot of stories like that today, I'm confident. So pretty cool. Pretty cool thing to think about. It's kind of like the easy apply button. It is a great way to connect, but you've got to really know what you're doing and how to use the platform. And we're going to get into the nuance of that today. One final stat for you is that people on LinkedIn that are hired through LinkedIn are 40% less likely to leave the company within the first 6 months, which means there are genuine relationships being forged here. People are truly advancing their career and truly driving amazing sales. I want to introduce you to our guests today. These are literally the very best people we could possibly find, and I am shocked that we were able to get all four of them in one show. I'm so excited to introduce them to you. First off, we have Morgan J. Ingram, Director of Sales Execution and Evolution at JBarrows Sales Training. We have Ashley Watkins, who's a resume writer, job search coach, and a former recruiter herself at Right Step Resumes. We have Jake Dunlap, who's the founder, CEO, and B2B sales leader at Scaled Consulting. And finally, we have Anna Lokotkova. I think I did better that time. Personal brand and career advisor and resume writer and job interview coach at CV Labs. These are some of the top voices on LinkedIn as rated by LinkedIn in sales, job seeking, recruiting. And that's really why we're all here today. And I want to encourage you again to engage. Feel free to drop your LinkedIn URL there in the chat if you're on Zoom. And if you're watching on any other platform, feel free to drop your LinkedIn there as well. Say hi. We're here to connect, obviously, with our amazing guests, but also with each other. And today is being live streamed on Facebook. Feel free to share that. And let's get into the show. We are going to talk about a couple of amazing tech companies. We, of course, are focusing on, Powderkeg is focused on tech companies that are scaling in areas outside of Silicon Valley. And we have guests from all over the world today, which is really exciting. I want to talk about one of our sponsors that is our sponsor of today's show. This is our headline sponsor, Zotech Partners, and they're at the forefront of innovation in the healthcare industry. What I love about this team is that people are sort of at the heart of Zotech. They've got a really amazing team. Back when we were doing live in-person events, they always showed up in force. For example, their new development intern program has grown into something amazing despite the pandemic. They've got 7 interns this year and have developed remote programming, events, and more. Super cool company to work for, and they're hiring. So I love these bright shining lights in some of the craziness that we're experiencing right now with the economy. Zotech is still hiring. They're hiring software developers. So make sure you talk to Joe. He'll be in the job match channel on Slack if you are looking to connect with some new jobs. Or you can ping Nick on the Powderkeg team if you're there chatting and want to get connected. And of course, we're going to be doing a ton of connecting on LinkedIn afterwards as well. All right, I want to bring our first guest on. Let's get right into it. Our first guest on today's show has been featured as a LinkedIn top voice for sales for several years, and is the Director of Execution Evolution at JBarrows Sales Training, focusing on delivering to sales development teams to enhance their skill sets and performance. He also is a motivational speaker who has been nominated by TEDx to speak on a number of occasions. I highly encourage you to go check out some of those talks. And I know that Morgan has shared some of that content through LinkedIn and other social platforms as well. Please help me welcome to the show, Director of Sales Execution and Evolution at JBarrows, Morgan Ingram. Morgan, can you hear us?
I'm here, man.
Awesome.
First and foremost, you're gonna have to do all my introductions moving forward. So that was hype. I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Hey, dude, I'm so excited to have you here. I've been following you for a long time. I know you and I have exchanged back and forth. You've been so helpful with the content you've been sharing on LinkedIn. I was wondering if you could start with just kind of telling us a little bit about your story of how you first discovered LinkedIn as a platform to help drive your own career.
Yeah, so I read a book called How to Get Your Dream Job by Pete Lyman back my sophomore year in college. And at the time when I was a sophomore in college, there really wasn't a lot of activity on LinkedIn. Nobody was building their brand at all. The content that was there was mostly articles. However, what I realized is in that book, it talked about how you could reach out to individuals for informational interviews. And I found that to be intriguing because at the time I wanted to be a sports agent. So you all probably in the comments have seen Jerry Maguire show me the money. Well, that was me. I was like, yo, I'm gonna be a sports agent. I'm gonna figure this out. So what I did is I went on LinkedIn and I blind connected with almost every single person that was in the sports industry. So the Atlanta Hawks, the Atlanta Falcons, the NBA, like everybody. And so what I did is at the time is when you could connect with people immediately, normally their number was there or their email was there. And so I would send 20 emails a day to figure out if I could get informational interviews from individuals to learn from them because I was in college and I just was like, hey, I'm just looking to learn. 15, 20-minute conversation is all I'm asking for at the end of the day. And so what I gained from LinkedIn is that it was a place to learn from individuals and have tons of resources and tons of experience. And so I was super fortunate. I was able to talk to the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, the VP of sales at the NBA, the general manager at Fox Sports South, and many others that I've been blessed to network with. And it was an incredible experience. And so that's where I really started leveraging LinkedIn, not even creating content, just connecting with people because they had information that I wanted to learn about.
Well, I guess then I really only have one question, which is, can you show me the money?
Yeah. I got you. I got you on that, man. I didn't get to be a sports agent, but I learned a lot from those individuals. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Can you tell me about that experience when you were kind of connecting? You mentioned connecting with the owner of the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
You mentioned some of the things you learned through connecting with people on LinkedIn. First of all, that strategy of just kind of blind connecting to everyone in your industry, is that a strategy that you would recommend for LinkedIn today?
Yeah, I know Jake's gonna have a comment on this when he comes on. So I'm gonna go ahead and reinforce a point that he's already gonna make. So the blind connect has a higher acceptance rate. It's crazy. I didn't believe him, but it does. And I've been doing it myself in terms of connecting with people, and it seemed to be working. However, I would recommend to do a personalized note if you're looking to connect with someone that maybe you have listened to their podcast or you've read their book. Then yeah, you would do that. I sent one to Chris Voss the other day, and I watched his masterclass, and I was like, hey man, your masterclass was great. It was one of the best online courses that I've ever watched. And I also mentioned that there was a certain part in there that I enjoyed, and that's what helped create a dialogue with him, right? So if you watch something or you listen to something, then absolutely put that as a personalized note. But the blank connection request still stands true today. It's very interesting, but it does work out.
And just so everyone is on the same page with what we're talking about, blind connect, can you kind of explain what that is?
Yeah. So blind connect, all that means at the end of the day is you don't add a personalized note inside of your connection request. So that means that you just click connect and you immediately connect with that person.
I appreciate you kind of getting into detail there. So I know you've transitioned your career now into sales training just based on the success that you had leveraging LinkedIn and other strategies. Can you talk about how LinkedIn fits into a broader set of tactics for a sales strategy?
Absolutely. So I'm going to turn to the chat real quick. I got a question for you all. Put a 1 for me. Put a 1 for me if you use LinkedIn as of today to prospect or to sell.
Oh, I love this.
Cool. So we got a lot of people right here that are putting 1s. Flooding the chat. All right. So we got a lot of 1s here. Boom. So we got a lot of stuff here. So, you could put 2 in here as well. If you're like, hey, Morgan, this is something that I don't normally do. I like to keep my network sacred. Obviously, I'd like to hear from you all. And I know everyone's going to have different ways of seeing this, but how I see LinkedIn as of today. So there was a report I saw 2 weeks ago, and this is due to the current climate, like what's happening now. It said there was a 75% increase in new and unique messaging in terms of prospecting. And then it also said that there's a 48% increase in LinkedIn activity. So what that means to me, and when I read that data, is that more people are on LinkedIn now more than ever because you're at home, you're not traveling as much. And LinkedIn is one of the best ways to connect with someone because I see LinkedIn as a campfire. Everyone is there right now. Everyone is seeking out advice. Everyone's trying to figure out what the next steps are. Everyone's trying to figure out how do I advance my career right now because we're all at home looking at the screen. So if you're able to connect with your buyers on this platform and engage with them in a way that's different than what everyone else is doing, that's how you're able to stand out to get meetings. And LinkedIn has been a main channel for me right now to schedule meetings. It's been a main channel for the clients that I've been working with to schedule meetings because everyone is there. So I always want to be where the people are at. And that's why LinkedIn's a campfire right now. And everyone should consider prospecting more so on LinkedIn than now more than ever.
I love that, Morgan. I'm sure there are a lot more questions that people have in the chat and in the Q&A. So if you have a question for Morgan, go ahead and type it down there below, and we'll get into Q&A here in just a moment. Morgan, thanks for sharing your story. We're going to jump into our next guest and bring them on to the show. We're really excited to have everyone here today on the show. And our next guest is someone that's focused a little bit more on the career side, using LinkedIn specifically for career development and landing a job. And before I introduce them, I wanted to give a huge shout out to one of our other sponsors who is also hiring, KSM Consulting. They were recently acquired and part of a bigger organization now, still have an amazing culture. And I love the way that their team uses tech and data to solve big problems, something near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure a lot of our guests today as well. They work with companies, governments, nonprofits, and more to address problems like the opioid crisis. So they're really making a big impact in the world. And what I love most about them is their people first culture. They're currently hiring for React developers, .NET developers, Spark engineers, and delivery managers as well. And Luke is in the Job Match channel right now. So if you're in Slack and want to connect with Luke, that's a great place to do it. And Luke Wayner is his name. You can also connect with him on LinkedIn. I highly recommend you doing that. They're doing just amazing things over there. Our next guest on the show today is none other than Ashley Watkins. I am super excited to have her here today. Again, I think I first learned about Ashley from the LinkedIn Top Voices. She was top voice in job search and careers. And as a job search coach and nationally certified resume writer, she has partnered with frustrated job seekers to teach them leading edge job search strategies. She has experience in recruiting top talent for nonprofits such as the American Cancer Society and Gateway, and multi-million-dollar companies in the banking and manufacturing industries. Please help me welcome to the show the founder of the Right Step Resumes organization, Ashley Watkins. Ashley, can you hear us?
How are you?
Doing great. Great to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, absolutely. You share so much good information about how to really put your best foot forward on LinkedIn in terms of developing relationships that are going to help further your career. But you also, I know, had a little bit of experience also as a recruiter using LinkedIn from that perspective as well. Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you first discovered LinkedIn and when you really started to find your groove on the platform?
Right. So I started I heard of LinkedIn coming up when I graduated college. And so this is like shortly after, because I was still involved with my alumni association and all of that. So as new things were arising, because I actually graduated in 2002, so LinkedIn wasn't really popping in 2002 yet. So I started with the American Cancer Society in 2007. And so that LinkedIn was the wave, at that point. So I had to use it as a recruiter. And so after a position would post, or I would talk to a hiring manager during my intake calls, they would say, well, do you have any, new ways to try to find people? Because social media was there, but it really wasn't, something that, a whole lot of people were like, yeah, like now everybody's everywhere. So I was like, yeah, there's LinkedIn and I can start to find some people there. So I was like, I connect with people all the time. And at that point, I had no rules about connecting with people. If you sent me a connection request, I pretty much accepted it. It was about, getting to know new people. And I'm pretty much a wallflower when it comes to actually in-person networking events. So, being able to network online was something that was great for me. So initially it was to actually find talent. So I wasn't out there really posting and doing a whole lot of interacting and commenting. I was basically a spy. I found people, I looked them up. I had to see what they were up to and, looking at resumes and, and things like that. So basically, I had to make that shift eventually into, being actually seen, heard, found, and everything. So, that was an interesting transition for me because here I am having to coach clients to do something from the other side of it. And so I was like, I haven't really been on this side. I was recruited in my last position with Gateway from LinkedIn. So that was my only experience from actually being recruited because I stayed with the American Cancer Society for 8.5 years. Wow. So, there was no recruiting there. I made it, pretty obvious that I was not leaving. I loved my job there. So eventually an opportunity came up. This company reached out to me from LinkedIn and recruited me away, surprisingly. And so that was pretty interesting, but I knew how candidates got in touch with me and I knew how they got in touch successfully, with hiring managers. So I used some of those same strategies to teach my clients, how to connect with other people and, how to reach out to people that they don't know because that can be real weird and have a cringy vibe to it, a lot of times. But, it's just like riding a bike. Once you get on there, you figure out what you're doing. You don't forget it. It's something that you'll pick up very quickly. And I love for a sales and marketing person to tell me, I don't know how to use LinkedIn to find a job. I'm like, well, how do you find clients? How do you get the sales? Those same strategies work very effectively when you're actually looking for a job. And I think what I've noticed is that people have a lot of reservation about using LinkedIn, because the platform seems so foreign and it doesn't seem like any other social media, platform where you can have fun, where you can, tell jokes and just kind of be yourself. Like everybody, wants to make it seem, oh, I have to be professional and poised over here. And I'm like, just be yourself, be your authentic self. You may not want to put stuff on there, that, somebody may find on your Snapchat or Instagram, but you can use it in, much the same way to share your personal stories, because people do hire people. So that was something that, it always sticks out when I'm talking to my clients, is reminding them to be themselves, that they don't have to be this structured and straight up and down person if that's not who you are. I wear jeans, most days. You don't have to wear a suit on your, on your headshot. You can actually wear a button up and, maybe a tie and a shirt, and not necessarily have to go, full on interview suit, if that's not who you really are. And really just teaching them too how to put their investigator and spy hats on and find what they need to know, find who they need to know, and connect and make it meaningful for, for both, give to get.
I love the focus on authenticity and a lot of the advice that you share. Is there one thing that you would recommend to companies and employers if they're looking to be an attractive place or an attractive person to connect with on LinkedIn?
Yes, be authentic from that side of it too. When most of the clients that I work with and job seekers that I communicate with on a very frequent basis, they want to know, is this something where they feel like they belong? If you're saying that you value, social justice, or it could be, cancer, or whatever, whatever cause it is, we need to see you actively, participating in those things. Let us see what your employees do every day. One thing that I do like is if I'm ever clicking on someone's careers page on their website or on LinkedIn, and it sends me to a video page where I can actually take a look at what the day in the life is like for those particular opportunities. I love that, because it gives, it's one thing to read words on a paper, right? And it's one thing for you to read through the job description, when a lot of times you can read the posting, you're like, what? I still don't know what this position does. But to hear it from the mouth of somebody who does it every single day, and they can put it in words that a real person can understand, and you can see somebody who may look like you, who may be from where you're from, or whatever, to see them grow and be successful, in that job that you're targeting, that you aspire to be in, that's something that's very encouraging. And I do love that when I see that on careers pages. But I would say just show the real, employee gatherings. Don't let it be structured. Everything doesn't have to have a professional photographer. That comes off fake to me. Let me see those camera phone photos that you've taken at the company lunch, or whatever. I want to see that, so I can then envision myself and say, these people look like, great people to work with. They look like me. They sound like me. They have similar, careers as me, whatever the case may be. I think finding that true connection and genuine outreach, when you allow, open up the doors a little bit and be less manufactured, I guess, I think that will attract a lot more quality hires, I think, because people seeing that would make me be like, yeah, I want to be there.
That's great advice, and is making me want to jump on my careers page right now and get some updated content on there. Right. Thank you for sharing that. I want to introduce our next guest here, but if you are listening, watching live, please don't be shy. I don't see anything happening right now in Q&A on Zoom, so I want to remind you that is there. We have more than 200 people tuning in across all our platforms. So if you've got a question for Ashley or Morgan or any of our upcoming two guests, please drop your question there. I want to get those answered for you. Before I introduce our next guest, I want to give a shout out to one of our national sponsors, CLA. The team at CLA has been working overtime, helping tech companies across the country adapt their financial, accounting, and talent strategies for a COVID-19 environment. Randy Dial is in the Slack channel right now, and you can message him if you'd like to get connected with them. They are a top 10 accounting firm. They're a professional services firm, and they've been such a helpful resource for us as we've gotten through this COVID experience, or getting through this COVID experience. So I want to make sure I give them a shout out before I bring our next guest on. And our next guest is a C-level sales leader and is an entrepreneur with more than a decade of experience. I love following his advice on LinkedIn, and he's now sharing on Twitter, Facebook, you name it. You can find him everywhere. But his presence on LinkedIn is incredible. He has extreme passion for using the power of LinkedIn and has shared numerous articles and pieces of advice on the best ways to use LinkedIn to your benefit. Of course, in sales, but of course, all that can be applied to your career and other parts of business. He's developed and led high-performing sales and operational functions, specializing in building out repeatable, sustainable processes, and uses his energy, passion, and skills to provide inspiration to others and make an impact on the world, which he truly is and has been for me and for thousands, probably more like hundreds of thousands through what he's doing. So please help me welcome to the show, the founder and CEO of Scaled Consulting, Jake Dunlap. Jake, welcome to the show. Can you hear us, Jake?
Yes, I can hear you.
We can see you.
I'm here. What's going on, everyone?
Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a great first couple of sessions. I know I have some takeaways. I was taking some notes over here too.
Awesome. Hey, I love that you're ever the student. I know you're always experimenting with new things and always kind of pushing the limits of the platform. Can you talk a little bit about when you started to realize that LinkedIn was it? I think I recently saw that you said, if you're in sales, you should be spending more than 50% of your time, if you're in B2B sales, on LinkedIn. When did you start to realize that's the basket you need to be putting a lot of your eggs in?
Yeah, it was actually a very specific point in time where it was like, what was it, May of 2018 when GDPR came out. If you guys remember GDPR, it was a data privacy rule. In the US, we don't really believe in these things, but in other parts of the world, they believe in them. They have Castle in Canada and stuff. So we kind of dissected the law, the whole law. We wrote this beautiful 10-page ebook for marketing and for sales leaders. Like if you're in marketing and sales, this is the definitive guide. And, we pushed it on social media. We were doing a blog post every week and engagement was okay. And then finally what I realized is look, this is just not how people want to consume information anymore. The idea of you put up ebooks, you put up blogs, you put up these things. And so, what I quickly realized was this is not current consumer behavior. And so we literally between June of 2018 and June of 2019, we put out 0 ebooks, put out 0 blogs, and went 100% to short form content. Right. And, and just started to really focus on how do you build value, had a chance to, we kind of went down the whole, all in on social media really. And I think we just also saw that LinkedIn was just prime, that there was so few people that were producing content. It was just silly. And so as we started to do that, we started to see traction, quick inbound leads coming in, but it didn't look and feel like what you're supposed to do as a consulting firm. So that was really our tipping point was, I got fed up. I'm like, this is a waste of time. I spent all these time on these stupid ass ebooks and forget it.
I should probably unmute myself, huh?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, is this me? I'm like, oh my God, I know I missed the sound check. So I'm like, oh, it's obviously me. I blew it.
Still a rookie over here, figuring out how to get things done in my basement studio. I was just agreeing with you. I'm in the same boat as you. I remember that exact time period in 2018, and clearly it's paying off for you. What is the thing right now on LinkedIn that you and your team are kind of going all in on in terms of either one of the new features or one of the new types of content or strategy or outreach techniques that's really working for Scaled?
Yeah, I'll try to talk through with kind of a mix of different strategies, things we're testing, and then algorithm changes that I think are important for anyone who's producing content here. So I guess, what I'll start, maybe I'll start with the algorithm stuff. So on May 12th, LinkedIn did a major update to the algorithm where they basically added in a major component that's called dwell time. And so what dwell time looks at is how long are people actually having, and by the way, this is what TikTok does, Instagram, it's more of a maturation metric as opposed to vanity, likes and comments and things. And so what that means is that, look, if you're writing a super short form post that's not vulnerable, et cetera, that it's going to be tough to get traction. And so dwell time is what we're trying to play with right now, is like, how is the algorithm thinking about it? So imagine now it's images with text in it. So it's like, you read it, you do that. I tried this yesterday. Morgan gave me shit about it. I did a post with 37 emojis in it. And so like, I was like, I don't know, maybe that'll get people to do it. So we're testing with different, we're testing with like different ways to focus on this idea. And we've also seen a correlation. So we have a data partner that can pull in personal page data. So we look at data from tens of thousands of posts and a direct correlation between reshare and then LinkedIn kind of keeping it going. So we're really focused on, how do you create type of content that people are going to want to like look at, where social media, we're so used to the scroll, and then the type of content that people would want to click that share button. And that's really big for us on the content side. On the demand gen side, so we're a sales consulting firm. And so what that means is we are always trying for our clients to see what's next for demand gen. And what that really means is we are just front loading almost every single sequence with LinkedIn activity. Connect day one, take a look at, did they change jobs? Are they posting? Did they follow your company day one? Engage or comment on posts, because you'll be shocked. So many executives get 0 comments. And I was with a group two different groups this morning. Most executives get no comments. So what's better? You start calling and emailing somebody, or you're the first person to comment on their post. And then, oh my gosh, you slow play it and you wait 4 days, and then you like or comment another post. They are going to immediately remember who you are. And then you DM, hey, your stuff popped up in my feed. It seems like you're talking about this. This is what we do. If there's interest, would be great to maybe walk you through it. If not, enjoying the content. So, all sequences now should start with, if they are active on LinkedIn. If not, skip straight to calls and emails and direct mail and whatever. But if they are, why not try to build a little bit of relationship affinity? Because I'm telling you, any executive that's getting no comments, when you comment on their post and you do it twice, they immediately are like, who's Ashley Watkins? Like, I don't know. So if I'm in sales, that's the play, is like, can I develop some type of affinity with this person and then move into what we would traditionally look at as like more direct outbound activities?
I love that. Get on the radar first before you reach out with a more direct ask.
That's it.
Oh my gosh, I've got so many more questions for you, and I'm gonna save them for the open Q&A. So I want to make sure we introduce our 4th guest. If you have a question for Jake, please type it in the Q&A. I see them coming in here. We've got a dozen questions teed up. So Jake, we're gonna circle back here in just a minute and bring on our 4th guest here. Super excited to talk to you about our 4th guest who's tuning in from Canada today. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to an awesome company helping shift teams to this remote work life that we're in right now. They've been doing an incredible job working around the clock during this pandemic, providing managed IT services and data security to keep businesses running smoothly. They're currently hiring for all the technical support specialist roles and a network engineer role. So talk to Doug Allgood, the CEO there in the Job Match channel, or talk to Nick Jamel from our team to learn a little bit more. Again, Black Ink IT, can't say enough about these folks. All right, our 4th guest today is a personal brand and career advisor, a resume writer, and job interview coach at CV Labs in Calgary, Canada. She's written and shared inspiring articles on LinkedIn for looking to find job opportunities and land remarkable roles. She's a talented professional with incredible energy and has a passion for helping people find and create their personal brand. Anna focuses on telling her career stories to showcase job seekers' unique qualities to gain employers' attention, helping all of our clients do that. Please help me welcome to the show, personal brand and career advisor and founder of CV Labs, Anna Lakotkova. Anna, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, everyone. And thank you so much. It's so great to be here. And can I just say kudos to you, Matt, and the rest of the team for putting such a cool event together. I imagine it was a ton of work. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, thanks so much. And thanks for your patience too. I know there are always things we can be improving upon, from unmuting my mic to, making sure we get all the right links and the right calendar invites. I'm super grateful to have your expertise here on the show. And I know one of the things, Anna, that you talk about a lot is just how to make your LinkedIn profile look good. What are some of the top tips that you have for people? Everyone has a LinkedIn profile. What's the right strategy? I mean, you see people writing in the 3rd person, you see people using images, you see all kinds of things. What actually works in terms of having a great LinkedIn profile?
That's an awesome question, Matt. And it actually comes at a great time because just this week I shared a new video on my YouTube channel, which I also do have, and I'm, actively growing it and working on it. And like what I did in that video, I basically asked people on LinkedIn to share their profile links. And there were 5 lucky winners who got a free profile review from me. So what I was doing in that video, I was just sitting down and looking through those profiles and pretty much sharing my feedback and just being plain honest and straightforward in terms of what those people could improve. And that video was actually a big hit in terms of people still think about their LinkedIn profiles as their online resumes. And pretty much everybody is, using and sticking to those default options, like having just their job title at ABC company in the headline, or copy pasting their resume summary in the about section and just using bullet points in the, describing their previous roles and stuff like that. So, my approach is always to kind of, shift that mindset and get people to understand that LinkedIn is here for you to market yourself and to really tell your story. So it's no longer the same copy pasted version of your resume that you can just upload and sit back and wait for opportunities to just, jump at you from somewhere. It doesn't work that way. And actually when I started using LinkedIn, which was around 2016, which was exactly when Microsoft took over and things changed completely and LinkedIn transformed in a pretty unbelievable way. And then, so I've seen, I saw LinkedIn before that transition. So when it was just that plain, dry job search platform. And now I see a completely different social, interactive learning experience. And I do believe that when you shift your focus towards marketing, towards interaction, towards building those real, authentic, genuine connections, everything changes. And that's how it worked for me. And, I can talk for many hours about, the advantages of LinkedIn and the power and what you can or cannot do. But ultimately, I'm the living proof and the living example of how this whole thing works, because I jumped on LinkedIn to get to know people in my industry. That's how I met Ashley. That's how I met a lot of other amazing professionals who are like-minded, who care about the exact same things that I do, who help people, who network, who sell, who do all kinds of amazing things. And, every single opportunity that I've gotten since I started, I can trace it back to that day when I figured, hey, I should be here. I should use this platform. I should network with this community. And I should also not be afraid to put myself out there and start creating content. Because I feel like when it comes to LinkedIn, I think Ashley mentioned that already, there's a lot of there's this huge stigma in terms of, ooh, so now I have to put on a tie and a suit and be all polished up and talk smart and all of that. But, if I want to create content on LinkedIn, oh my God, I need to invent something groundbreaking every single day, because apparently that's what people do on LinkedIn. And it doesn't work that way, guys. If I can do it, you can do it, and anyone else can do it, because we all have something to share, but we all need to find the right angle and the right way to do it. Because if you just jump on there and start writing because you feel like it, well, that's great. That's better than not doing anything, but it may not get you the result that you want. But if you think about it a little bit and, put on a marketer's hat and think, okay, how can I make sure that what I'm putting out there is interesting, is engaging, is telling my story, is, targeting the right kind of people that I want to get in touch with, that's when the big shift happens. And I've witnessed that happen for so many users on the platform. And like I said, I'm the living proof that it works.
That is an inspiring story, and you're giving me hope for my LinkedIn profile. I really appreciate that, Anna. It looks like we're getting a ton of questions, so I'm gonna pull up the Q&A box here. Let's see this first question. Yeah, and guests, feel free to turn your cameras on, because we've got guests for everybody. This first one is for Jake, and I'm going to invite Andrew Thompson here onto the show. Andrew, can you hear us? There's Andrew.
I can hear you. Yes. I'm trying to get on visual too. You okay with just looking at my picture since I'm invited on the spur of the moment?
Yeah, you are great. Yeah, our guests, our question askers can be audio only. What's your question for Jake, Andrew?
Hey, if I can take one quick second to give a great shout out to Matt. Matt, way back when I was podcasting, you were my very first guest on a podcast that I had years ago. So it's
oh my gosh,
it's great to be here.
It had to be like oh my gosh, probably 8 or 9 years ago at this point.
I think it was maybe even 10. Yeah, about that long. But
nice.
Sure, Jake, my question for you is kind of offline from what we're talking about today. I saw that you posted about hiring a full-time VP of marketing or sales. And you said it's not necessarily the best way for a company to go, or maybe not the best way to. Is there a short, quick answer to what better alternatives for a company trying to boost their sales through enhancing their management team looks like to you?
Yeah, and yeah, obviously you hire a LinkedIn expert, right? So that's my relevant to this. But the side is that, look, sales is the only organization that does not use experts to scale. Marketing, finance, operations all hire in outside experts at different stages of scaling. So sales is like, here's maybe you get some training, you bring in Morgan, and good luck, right? And I feel like as we grow forward, we need an outbound optimization agency, which, to optimize our outbound efforts, right? We need an agency that looks at optimizing our sales cycle at all times. Sales operations isn't doing that. Sales enablement isn't doing that. They're looking once every 6 or 12 months. And we've got to start to run our sales organizations more like a performance organization versus a big initiative. Then we kind of like set it and forget it. And it's just, we can't keep up with buyers that way. And so being able to hire expert leadership at those different stages of scaling can help you to cheat through that versus a VP that is only relevant for you for 6 to 7, 8 months. And then you're on to the next one, but you keep them for 6 months and then you go hire another one for 6 months. You fire that one after 9 months. So I just think that there's smarter ways to scale as we look forward.
Good
Great
question.
answer. Thank you.
Good answer. Yeah. Our next question is from Megan McNames. And this is one that I think I'd be interested in everyone's perspective on this. I'll bring Megan here on the show and hopefully she can hear us. Megan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hey, welcome to the show. What's your question for our guests today?
Yeah, well, my question is that I get a lot of pressure from pretty much every organization I've ever worked for to participate in their marketing initiatives on LinkedIn by like changing my cover photo or posting content that they send me and want me to post that's related to their marketing initiatives. I'm just wondering, does this have any benefit for me other than, I'm supporting my company, which I love doing, but do I get something out of that? Is there some way I can leverage that? Like, how can I maximize my own benefit when I'm doing that work on behalf of my marketing team?
Anna, do you want to take first shot at this?
Sure, that's a great question, Megan. My answer is yes, you totally can. I would say that the best way to kind of make sure that you get the most out of this is to, well, obviously there is a certain content strategy that the company wants you to follow, but for you, there's also space to add a personal touch to it. So instead of, simply copy pasting certain templates or messages that they're giving you, you can also use your voice and use this as an opportunity to start building that voice. Because there's one thing about supporting your employer and sharing the content that, that they see as strategic or relevant or whatever. But there's another side to it of you adding your voice and making sure that somehow you create your own twist and you express those similar ideas and similar thoughts from the way you see it. And that would be a great practice for you to start building some initial traction, getting people interested, and just also practice some writing. Because if you eventually want to strengthen your personal brand on LinkedIn, it doesn't happen right away. It doesn't happen immediately. So it takes some practice and it takes some time. And I would say take this as the opportunity to do that.
Morgan, are there any great company campaigns that you've seen work really well in terms of companies that have engaged their entire employee base to really make an impact on LinkedIn?
I think the company that they don't do it as much anymore, but Drift did a fantastic job doing this. They would have everybody be like, all right, this is the campaign that we're running. And they would have people doing videos, doing posts in their own voice, just as like Anna was saying. So that's something that I would definitely be focused on when your company's like, hey, here's the content we need you to go put out, it's like, cool, I'll just add my own context around that. So it isn't just another post that's out there and it's part of the noise. It's something that will stand out. So yeah, Drift did it the best. They would be like, hey, there's a campaign, and they would have every single person do a video, but it was in their voice and it stood out.
I love that. Ashley, anything you'd add to that?
I would say just and kind of echo what the others have said already, is just making sure that you put whatever it is, you have some bit of your voice in there instead of the copy paste. I think, people are smart enough to know when it's just a copy and paste because they've seen other people do it, because LinkedIn will, the way the algorithm is set up, it will throw 5 different posts in there that have the same content on them. So just really finding that individuality. And then if you see somebody who has a question or something like that, try to be the one that responds, so that people, acknowledge you as a thought leader or someone who's very knowledgeable at the company. So there's a way for you to have still that individuality while you're supporting the company and, trying to be as, to blend in with the company, but standing out at the same time, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, you want to keep in with the same marketing scheme, but you want to stand out as an authority on that as well.
I appreciate that. That's good context to have. Well, and you said the buzzword there, which is algorithm. And Jake, you touched on this a little bit earlier. Jake, do you have any other perspective on the LinkedIn algorithm, and what's kind of your philosophy on the algorithm? Do you play to the algorithm? Do you try to chase the algorithm? Do you kind of stay tried and true? And I would love everyone's perspective on this. Feel free to weigh in.
It's both, meaning, it's about understanding it, but also about like video, for example, under indexes big time on LinkedIn, massively, right? If you want to get likes and engagement, don't post videos unless it's a meme video about a soldier meeting his daughter for the first time, or a woman walking for the first time. Then your video will get a lot of traction. But it doesn't mean you don't do it, because you got to think about, you're building an audience, you're building a name for yourself and a reputation in your industry. And so video gives people different touch points. So I know when we put out a video, we put out an audio, whatever it is, it's not going to do quite as well. So for us, it's a mix. Yes, like I said, we tried 37 emojis, then we're trying these texts. So it's like, we're trying to understand it, but it doesn't mean that every post is a pander to the algorithm, right? And I feel like that's because you want to create community, diversity in types of content, ways to interact. So that's how we approach it at Scaled.
Any other perspectives there?
I have a perspective. Jake and I were talking about this the other night. So my thing is, I've been studying it. I've been looking at it. I've been analyzing it as well. Jake is correct about the videos. However, it's having a mix of content, was Jake is saying. And so just because your video isn't getting a lot of views, that doesn't mean that it's not valuable. I truly believe that the views of the video are more valuable than sometimes your text post views. And here's why. So when you see someone on video, it creates a relation with them. So when I started a YouTube channel like years ago, people felt like they knew me. And I'm like, yo, I don't know you. But the thing is that I created so many videos that I created that affinity, that bond with the viewer. So even though it's not getting a lot of views, I wouldn't say don't do video. I would say add it as part of your strategy, but do more short form posts. So I've been playing around with this too. And the highest engagement post that I've had so far, it literally was a sentence and it blew up. And I was like, all right, cool. I guess that's what the algorithm likes. They like short form tweet-like content. And then also pictures have high engagement with context around it, also are great to put, and the algorithm likes that as well. So these are just things to consider when you're looking at the algorithm. And this is what I have seen success with, and also other people that I know are seeing success with it as well. And also just telling your story, just as Anna was talking about earlier, is critical as well.
And Anna and Ashley, we're talking about, getting views, getting in front of people. And that maybe makes sense in a sales role. Can you talk about maybe the context of like why you want to be posting, even if you're not actively searching for a job right now in terms of your career?
Well, I can definitely jump in and just, first of all, I want to echo what Morgan just said in terms of the algorithm. I mean, I'm a nerd for like understanding LinkedIn and playing with the algorithm. So I love studying it, but you need to remember why you are on LinkedIn in the first place. Because like I share a ton of posts in all kinds of formats, and some of them get really high engagement, but that's it. So I get views, I get exposure, I get some likes. That's great, but that's it. But when it comes to video, yeah, it's definitely underrated by the algorithm and I don't get that many likes. But video has brought me some of my best clients, and it actually helped me to create a more personal relationship with my audience. So my point would be, video is really good for your visibility, although it does not have the same reach as a text post, and it will be underrated by the algorithm, but that's when people actually start seeing you, like the real you behind that text. So if you want to create that deeper connection and that a little bit deeper meaning behind all of this, I would say definitely include video as part of your strategy. Do not, of course, rely 100% on just video or just text. So like Morgan was saying, it's always good to like mix formats up and make sure that you diversify that strategy. But my point is, you know, likes are good, but are you on LinkedIn just for likes, or are you there for real connections, leads, relationships, and results? Because for that, it's not the number of likes that matter. Sometimes people would see my video, they wouldn't even show any kind of reaction to it. But then in 2 days, they're messaging me saying, hey, what you said there really, you know, brought it home to me. You nailed it. I want to work with you. So that's how it works. Algorithm is great, but remember, why are you on LinkedIn?
Ashley, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. When you ask the question, you know, initially, like, why would somebody need to, you know, to post on LinkedIn? Why would they, you know, why would they need to do that? Especially as job seekers, it's because you want to, for one, let LinkedIn know that this is a live profile. You know, it's easy for you to get this, you know, I have to tell my clients this all the time, like, yeah, we can pretty up your profile all you want to, but if you're not using it effectively, your results are going to fizzle out after that first week, because LinkedIn is going to say, aha, we've got a live profile. Now we're going to show it to some people and bring some attention to it. Now you've let it go stale for, you know, for the next 3-4 months. And, you know, of course, nobody's going to reach out to you because, again, your profile is stale. So you want to keep activity, especially if you're connected to recruiters, because a lot of times that would determine whether or not I would reach out to somebody. If I saw that they had recent activity, then I know that they have a far you know, I have a far better chance of getting them to respond to my message, because they'll see it because they've been on LinkedIn. You know, so active is always better. You don't have to spend a lifetime on LinkedIn. You can post maybe once or twice a week, you know, join other conversations, join groups, you know, have, you know, ask questions, you know, you can tag people. There are a lot of ways that you can get more views on your, you know, on your profile. But again, as Anna and others, you know, have said, you want to be very strategic, because you have to remember why you're there. You're there to be found if you're looking for a job. So you need to do some things that draw more attention, draw more traffic to, you know, to your profile, the same way that someone who is in sales and marketing would be trying to draw traffic to their website, you know, for purchases and things. So you definitely want to keep the profile active and understand that, you know, it's going to take activity. You have to like and engage for people to like and engage, you know, with your content. You know, you can't expect for everybody to, you know, you can't expect to get. You have to give attention in order for you to get attention back. So
that's great advice. I want to wrap up here with all of our guests with a lightning round. Your top 10-second tip. And Powderkeg is all about the untapped potential in tech communities beyond Silicon Valley. We have an amazing community here. Jake, would you start us off with your 10-second top tip for LinkedIn?
10-second top tip, 10 second. Okay, I got it. All right. So for me, look, here's what I'll say. When you Google your name, there's a very high likelihood LinkedIn is the #1 result. And you have a digital presence, you have a reputation, whether you want to pay attention to it or not. And so all of you are in this game for the long haul. You're building a career and a life. And the network that you build on LinkedIn is unlike anything you'll ever be able to build physically. And so my advice, like, that is the #1 reason. Your reputation is digital. You have to get involved.
And Jake, if people want to find you online, what's the best way to connect?
I mean, I've got to say LinkedIn, right? Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's Jake Dunlap, Dunlap, right? Go check us out. Again, you can go to jakedunlap.com. You can get access to all our different social channels as well there too. And thanks again for having me on. It was really good to meet all of you as well too.
Absolutely. Fun. Thanks for being here, Jake. Morgan, what's your top tip for LinkedIn?
Use LinkedIn video and the LinkedIn voice messages. I've been yelling about this for like years. All right. If you use the LinkedIn videos and the LinkedIn voice messages, you'll get people to connect with you more. You'll get more meetings, and you'll connect with people that were not responding to you in the first place. So LinkedIn videos, LinkedIn voice messages, that's my hot tip. We've seen conversions from 20, 30, 40% and on by using this technique. So that's my go-to tip right there.
I love that. I have not tested the waters there yet, Morgan. So this is going to be me tipping the scale, and I'm going to let you know how it goes.
All right, man.
And where can people find you, Morgan?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, super simple. Morgan J. Ingram on LinkedIn if you want to connect and you have any further questions.
Awesome, man. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely.
Ashley, what's your top tip for LinkedIn?
I would say be authentic, be your authentic self, no matter what. If you are looking for a job, understand that hiring managers and recruiters hire people that they know, like, and trust. So if I can't get to the bottom of who you are and you've copied and pasted your resume into your profile, your resume is not you. Your resume is just a summary of what you've done. People want to know about you. So don't be afraid to add some personality, some flair, to your about section. That's what it's there for. Maximize those 2,000 or 2,600, whatever it is these days. Maximize those characters, maximize the headline. There's 120 characters for you to show your personality. Stand out, don't blend in, just be authentic.
All right, that's great advice. And where can people find you, Ashley?
On LinkedIn at Ashley J. Watkins. And on social media, I'm Right Step Resumes everywhere.
Love it. You all passed the test so far. LinkedIn is the place to connect.
Yes.
Anna, what's your top tip for LinkedIn?
I would say that if you're a little bit overwhelmed with everything that we've been talking about today and it feels like too much, start by, networking in comments under other people's posts. Don't think that networking is just, you have to actually message somebody. It has to be awkward. It has to be cold. It doesn't. Start with commenting under the posts that you can relate to, that seem interesting, and take it from there. And you might be surprised how many awesome conversations and awesome relationships have been started in comments under the content that you see in your newsfeed.
That's great advice. And where can people find you, Anna?
On LinkedIn. What a surprise. I'm there daily, so please feel free to reach out and connect. You can also find me on YouTube. Like I said, I'm growing that channel. There's a ton of info on optimizing your profile using LinkedIn and anything job search related.
I appreciate you sharing that. We're going to make sure we share the link to your YouTube channel. And for all of our guests today, we'll share all the links to their social profiles, some of my favorite content that they've put out over the years, some of their best advice that they've shared. I really highly recommend that you add all of them on LinkedIn, follow and engage in what they're sharing, because each of these guests today have their own kind of social community that is engaged with their content. And I guarantee you that they're going to be welcoming of you. If you're here on the show, you're wanting to learn to better engage on LinkedIn, I highly encourage you. These 4 guests are a great place to plug in. Highly active, sharing the best stuff, testing a lot. And so you can learn a lot from them just by engaging with them every day, or to Ashley's point, twice a week. You don't have to dive in the deep end on day one. And if you're not already spending a little bit of time on LinkedIn each week, this is a great place to do it. And these people are some of the very best, if not the very best, on LinkedIn. So I want to thank all of you guests for being here. I'm so grateful for you to engage with our community. And I'm grateful for everyone. We still have 100+ people watching the live stream. So thank you, everyone, guests, for tuning in. If you'd like to stay on, we've got a little bit of Powderkeg news. Actually, some really exciting companies, big funding announcements, big acquisitions happening. We cover it all here. This is sort of the 5-minute after show for Powderkeg, and I'm going to dive right into it. We call this the Spark. But first, I want to let you know that if you want to get matched with a tech job that you love, Powderkeg is the place to connect and help you get connected with real decision makers at companies. You can join thousands of top professionals in the Powderkeg community to get connected to the hottest tech companies between the coasts. Join the Powderkeg Talent Network today at powderkeg.com/jobs. It's totally free, and we get you connected directly to decision makers that are actively hiring. All right. Time to share some good news. This is rapid fire. This will take 3 minutes, and this is happening in tech communities all over the country. Our first show today, or our first story today on the show, is from anywhere really in the USA. This report came out yesterday from the Brookings Institute, and big tech has driven what Brookings dubs a ruinous degree of territorial polarization. Say that 5 times fast. With 1/3 of the nation's tech job growth in the last decade focused on only 5 coastal cities. As senior fellow and policy director at the Brookings Institution, Mark Muro points out that the remote work shift is only going to distribute opportunity and prompt economic healing and reduce, quote, the nation's simmering distrust of distant high-tech elites. Wow, Mark, getting it. He was getting it yesterday. Our next story comes from Steve Case. I had the privilege of traveling all over the country with this guy several times over the last few years. Steve Case is the co-founder of AOL. And Steve recently shared a really great op-ed. As Congress continues the debate over which businesses deserve funding, experts like Steve Case, chairman and chief executive of Revolution, points out that we can't grow the new success by restoring old ways. Supporting existing businesses doesn't guarantee a return to pre-COVID employment numbers, let alone create new jobs. Instead, Case is pointing to startups between the coasts as the best opportunity for helping fund to directly stimulate job creation, the economy, and shore up even the local economies. Our next story is out of Indianapolis, Indiana, which is actually where I am tuning in today from my basement. In Indianapolis, Indiana, spin-ups are a reinvestment in local tech ecosystems. And Indianapolis-based venture studio High Alpha is looking to help big corporations nurture their roots. You may recognize High Alpha. We've had many of their partners on the show here over the years. And through their new business line, High Alpha Innovation, the studio is helping companies like Silicon Valley Bank, Cummins, and Allegion create new products or businesses from existing internal innovation. To date, 24 companies have been able to raise over $140 million in follow-on funding. That's an important number for anyone tuning in today because 70 to 80% of every venture round goes directly to hiring and retaining talent. So that means more jobs, which is great. Our next story comes out of Phoenix, Arizona. This was a story that went out on Crunchbase. Definitely be out on the lookout for Arizona. The state's tech ecosystem experienced record-setting years for venture capital investment in both 2018 and 2019. And while the majority of the deals for Arizona-based startups and organizations were from seed to Series B stages, several late-stage rounds like Nikola Motor Co.'s $250 million raise and local tech organization SeedSpot and Paradox have made some major headlines. Plus, Phoenix ASU's campus was ranked #1 in innovation by U.S. News and World Report for the last 5 years, with the largest engineering school in the country to support the talent pipeline. Our next story is from Baltimore, Maryland, and Baltimore-based Catalyte has been providing a free resource called Retrain America. This free resource is helping connect job seekers to training in fields like cybersecurity, community healthcare, and technology. Employers can also join to source talent after agreeing to provide participants with opportunity regardless of background or education. Couple more stories here. This one's from Plantation, Florida. This is a huge headline. A month ago, more than 1,000 tech employees were living in an augmented reality. But 1 month after issuing a 60-day warn notice about sweeping layoffs, AR company Magic Leap was able to take it back after receiving a $350 million investment from an unnamed current and new investor. Unnamed current and new investors, so multiple investors. The company is hoping to continue its plans to focus on enterprise products, citing healthcare and defense as some of the industries that they're focusing towards. Magic Leap is a super cool company. I hosted a hackathon with them in the Bay Area 3 or 4 years ago, and their tech is incredible. So I'm happy to hear that they got that $350 million in funding and are keeping all of those employees. All right, our next story, second to last story here, is from Recess. Based originally in Bloomington, Indiana. Now they are headquartered in LA. I've known these guys since I was in college with them. They recently raised $3.7 million and included participation from the IU Angel Network. This was their first investment for that network. Notably, Mark Cuban was an early investor in this company. These guys, Deuce and Jack, are just amazing entrepreneurs. So this is exciting news and good to see them continuing to grow and scale. Our next story is based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Brady Corp recently invested $6 million in React Mobile, which is a startup that focuses on providing panic buttons to hotel housekeepers and other hospitality employees. And then in Dallas, Texas, Dallas-based startup Caraloop recently closed $6 million in Series A funding led by Patterson Thoma and including KC Rise Fund, as well as Revolution's Rise of the Rest Fund. Great group of investors there in Dallas, Texas. And finally, our last story on the show today, Chicago-based health kiosk company Higgy just closed a $30 million Series B round led by UK AI company Babylon Health in its first official US investment. A lot of people coming back in, reinvesting into this, and Higgy is expecting to help further develop a more end-to-end healthcare solution. So super cool company. Want to make sure those were on your radar. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, we put together a curated newsletter that's super easy for you to learn about these stories, skim it. It's once a week. We find the best stories happening in between the coast. It's a hand-curated newsletter, not just by me and the team, but by influencers in all of these communities around the country. It's really the tech news and info and opportunities outside Silicon Valley that you really need to know about. So head on over to powderkeg.com, sign up right on the homepage, and would love to have you as part of our community there. Just want to give one more shout out to all of our partners today. Make sure you connect with them in the Slack channel and connect with each other there in the Slack channel. Hopefully, if you're still tuned in here, you've discovered our Slack channel, are engaging with some of our guests today that we had on the show. We'll keep the Slack channel going. We're going to continue to connect with you there between shows. Until then, thanks for joining the Powderkeg virtual event, and we will see you next time on Powderkeg, the podcast, live. Catch you next time. Thanks so much, everybody.